Welcome to 100 Yards of Football Today. It's our history video show as we're going to talk about the 8 great players in Southeastern Conference football history due to the weekend because we got the SEC Championship game that's going to be played here in the Atlanta area between LSU and Georgia. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me to help me with the list is a special gentleman from Real Talk Sports, Mr. Johnathan Simmons. So if you like the video and you agree with our list, please come in and share it. I know you're going to probably be upset because we could have put a lot of players on this list, but we came up with the 8 great players that we thought of. So thank you and God bless. Don't kill us too bad. But let's start with our 8th player on the list. The young man came out of University of Alabama, played from 1932 to 1934, had 2 touchdowns receptions in the 1935 Rose Bowl against Stanford, Mr. Don Hudson.
Hey, the guy that really is the prototype of a modern-day receiver. He was silky smooth, great hands, great moves. And in that game, he talked about 6 receptions overall for over 160 yards. Those are big-time numbers even for today.
And you know who he's running buddy at the other end spot. Do I have to bring him up?
No, bring him up.
Paul Bell Bryant, the legendary head coach at the University of Alabama that really changed how they play football in the Southeastern Conference.
That's a dynamic duo right there, bro.
Coming in at number 7, a team that's playing in the game this weekend, the LSU Tigers out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They got a guy who's their only Heisman Trophy winner. They're going to have 2 this season, I think, after it's all said and done. But the great Billy Cannon, a 1959 Heisman Trophy winner, played on the 1958 National Championship team known as the Chinese Bandits. But what you remember Mr. Cannon about is that Halloween night, October the 31st, 1959, he returned that punt 89 yards. And when you go back and look at the old film on YouTube, look like he broke about 30 tackles.
Oh, yeah, electrifying run, and that's what you remember him for. Like I said, the only Heisman Trophy winner for LSU, a great guy. Now, he was like Paul Hornung from Notre Dame, a little interesting off the field.
Yes, sir.
But nevertheless went on and played a lot of people don't know, had a great pro career in the AFL.
Yes, sir, and he did have some what we call transgressions, but when it's all said and done, he was a great football player for Louisiana State University. Coming in at number 6, led the Florida Gators to their first national championship, played under Steve Spurrier, the great Danny Wolfo out of Fort Walton Beach, Florida.
Yeah, a great quarterback. They went to back-to-back national championship title tilts. In that second one, he pulled it off and allowed Florida to win. But you know what I like about the guy is got a chance to meet him at the College Football Hall of Fame. He does a lot in the community. Great Christian guy and just really great guy to be around.
And I like his career numbers, which is 10,875 yards and 114 touchdowns. Coming in at number 5, you know I had to represent the great state of Tennessee, the volunteer state. I know you don't like that, but I think the best defensive lineman that played at the University of Tennessee, I didn't mean that. I know you're from up north, mister. Let's don't get nothing started today.
No.
And you should like him anyway because he was a minister, the great Reggie Wayne.
Of course, I mean, a guy that was the dominant defensive player. Matter of fact, watching NFL 100 selections, Lawrence Taylor actually said that he was the best defensive player he'd ever seen. The guy was dominant. Who else do you know could one arm knock down a 300-pound man?
And I like his last year on the campus at University of Tennessee. He was the SEC Player of the Year and had 15 sacks. Coming in at number 4, we lost this great gentleman this past week. Played at Auburn University, the great Pat Sullivan, Heisman Trophy winner in 1971.
Yeah, a great player. A lot of people would probably say he was a game manager, but did the job for Auburn, one of the all-time best, and condolences obviously to him and his family.
And what I like about Mr. Sullivan, I like to remember this date, November 13th, 1971, over there in Athens, Georgia. And he had like 250 yards and really cemented his status as a Heisman Trophy winner and led Auburn to a very impressive 35-20 win over Georgia. I'm saying that real low because I don't want the dog nation to get mad.
I was about to say, you know, we have a lot of Georgia fans watching this broadcast, sir.
But notice I brought up the date, November 13th, 1971. So I'm not throwing those shots at Georgia, but I want to bring that up for the late, great Pat Sullivan. Coming in at number 3, another great quarterback from Auburn University, locally here, Westlake High School. Career started kind of shaky when he went to college. Originally committed to Florida, got in some trouble up there, but came back and led Auburn to the national championship in 2010. Heisman Trophy winner in 2010. Has had a great pro career, Mr. Cameron Newton.
Here's a guy that you look at. Ben Roethlisberger saw him in the first All-Pro game, and he said, "This is the prototype of what quarterbacks gonna look like. 6'5", 250 pounds, runs like a deer, got a cannon for an arm. What more can you ask for?" And the guy accounted for over 50 touchdowns, breaking Tim Tebow's record in his final year.
And I like the stats in his senior year, well, his only year at Auburn, 2,800 yards passing, close to 1,500 yards rushing. He had one of the most special seasons ever for a football player in the Southeastern Conference and on a college football level. Coming in at number 2. Now, I know it's a lot of people said we could have went Cornelius Bennett, who's some other great players that played in this league, Arch Steele out of Kentucky, Kevin Falk, Burt Jones, especially quarterbacks, Peyton Manning, Eli, Tim Couch at Kentucky, but this is dear to my heart because I saw the gentleman play when I was 9 years old, and he broke my heart that year because the University of Tennessee was ranked number 2 in the country. And I listened to the game on an old radio that my mother gave me, and it was one of the greatest upsets ever in college football. Actually, I cried. And a lot of people talk about his sons, how great Peyton was and how great Eli, but man, let me tell you something. Archie Manning was serious. 6'3", 215 pounds. He comes on our list at number 2. And if you think I'm telling the story, we talk about all these dual threat quarterbacks now. Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson. But if you want to know how good Archie Manning was, go back to that night in October of '69. It was the first televised game at night for college football. And also it was that season, it was the 100th season of college football. And man, against Alabama, he put on a show. 436 yards passing, 104 yards rushing. He scored 4 touchdowns, and that's when I knew the young man from Drew, Mississippi was going to be special. And I'll give you another tidbit. He grew up in Drew, Mississippi, which is hot down there in the Delta. You don't know about that. You're a northern guy.
No, like cold, brother.
When it's hot, when I'm talking about hot, he grew up 10 miles from where my mother's from in Sunflower. Archie Manning.
Well, no doubt. I got a chance again to meet Archie here, College Football Hall of Fame. Had a chance to talk to him when you actually had 2 SEC teams in the college football playoffs at the time in terms of the ranking, Mississippi and Mississippi State. And he really talked about how proud he was of his 2 boys. Didn't talk anything at all about how great he was at the university that he went to, which was, of course, Ole Miss.
And the upset he led against that Tennessee team that was ranked number 2 at the time, some great players on that team. Steve Kiner, Jack Hacksaw Reynolds, Jackie Walker, Bobby Scott. But you know who played offensive guard on that team? Philip Foreman.
And not only that, the head coach of that team is who the stadium is named after, Mr. Neyland.
There you go. And coming in at number 1, I know the Dog fans are going to love this. And it wasn't even close, because this young man changed the face of college football and the SEC and how teams across the nation respected this conference. Out of Riceville, Georgia, the great Herschel Walker. What more can you say? Came on the scene in 1980, and I'm going to tell you another little quick story. I had a sister that was a freshman, same year Herschel, up there at the University of Tennessee. And after that game, she called me long distance and said, "Hey, bro, let me tell you something. Georgia gonna finna be good in football. They got this guy named Herschel Walker. I never heard of him. And it was a night game that Saturday game. She said when it's all said and done, he gonna rock the college football world." And if you go back to that game, his first carry, that 16-yard game, when he literally ran over Bill Bates. I know you've seen the videotape. Repeatedly. His legend was born, and he led Georgia to a national championship that year. To me, when you look at this game from a college football standpoint, and I think about moments that really make me chill, I think about when me being a guy, and I'm not going to tell him my age, but I think about watching O.J. Simpson in '67, that great run he had against UCLA. Then I think about Tom Clemens in '73 when he led Notre Dame over Alabama. Then I think about 1978, that mighty USC team that had all them great players. Then you look at what Herschel did coming in '80 and putting Georgia on the map, Dog Nation, winning Georgia's national championship, the only one under Vince Dooley. That was special.
No doubt, this guy is a legendary player. Matter of fact, at age 57, looks like he can play right now. Incredible guy. I think 1,000 sit-ups, 500 push-ups. But here's the thing that people don't know. This guy was a legendary player in high school, rushed for over 3,100 yards, and was the class valedictorian. How
I
about
didn't
that?
know I didn't know that till I researched that today. And then I'm gonna give you another tidbit. You know when he accepted the Heisman Trophy, you might want to chuck on this. When he went up there and got the trophy, he had Uga with him.
Only Herschel Walker, a true Bulldog all the way, still is involved with the Bulldogs to this day, comes out to the practices. And I got to tell you something. Got a chance to see Herschel up close and personal when Nick Chubb got an award, a sports award here. And I tried to talk to him. You know what he said to me?
What he said?
He said, young man, he said, I already represented Bulldog Nation. It's Nick Chubb's turn to be in the spotlight. I'm
See,
just here
that's
to
what I'm
support
telling
him.
you. That's class.
And that's the difference. And that's why he's the #1 greatest selected player that we have for the top SEC players of all time.
Now I'm gonna go to the coach, the all-time coach, and I'm gonna let you bring up who did we select as the all-time coach in Southeastern Conference football history.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, of course, you know the guy with that checkered fedora and the red, Coach Paul Bear Bryant. 6 national championships and over a dozen SEC titles to the Bear.
And that being said, I can't argue with him. All I'm gonna say is this. If you like the video today, please comment and share it. I'm Vincent Turner of 100 Yards of Football. Join me. There's my man from Real Talk Sports, Mr. Johnathan Simmons. We know that some of y'all not going to agree with our list, and you're going to probably be upset, but we did a lot of research, and we feel like these are the best 8 players in Southeastern Conference football history. And if you come to Atlanta this weekend, please enjoy the game because it's going to be a great game against the LSU Tigers and the Georgia Bulldogs. Have a blessed day. God bless. Here from 100 Yards of Football.